Good morning. Brother Chad Long here from Delhi Baptist Church. This morning's passage reminds me of a song. I am a stranger and a pilgrim. I am a pilgrim and a stranger traveling through this wearisome land. And I got a home. Anyway, if you don't know the song, that's all right. It just reminded me of it. When we left off, Hebrews chapter 11, I believe we were in verse 13. But we'll start in verse 12 just to read into it. I hope that you... maybe I should give you time to get there. Some of you probably had your Bible open before you started this thing, but some of you may not be awake yet, so I'll give you just a minute. Anyway, we are going to dive right in because I need to get to some other things this morning, but I want you to see just this beautiful passage. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 12. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. It's a strange term, and he as good as dead. What that means is Abraham, who was 100 years old when he had Isaac, may as well have been a dead man for all the good it did him. For the promises God gave him, he didn't get to see. And Isaac didn't get to see it either, really. I mean, he got to live in the land God promised, but he didn't get to see it. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Forgive me for that. But anyway, therefore sprang there even of one being Abraham, as many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. He didn't get to see all of that. I do believe he saw some of his grandchildren, but he didn't see them all. So, they got married so late in life that I don't remember now. I used to have a chart that tells me how old each one was when the next one was born, and I can go back and look. We just studied through Genesis, but I can't memorize all that. I want to say he lived long enough to see the twins, but I can't remember. Anyway, verse 13, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off. And the picture here is the way that Abraham trusted God without seeing what would happen. Is the same way we're supposed to trust God without seeing what will happen, understanding that there's a better place. And this isn't... I'm so thankful that this isn't as good as it gets. Now, some people here have it pretty good. I was reading... I read commentaries, but I don't read them every day. I mean, I don't always go with what's in a commentary for this. In fact, I've got a study Bible that's not a commentary. It gives some very pointed facts about certain verses of Scripture, and I lean more on it than I do commentaries. But I did happen to read J. Vernon McGee on one of these verses, not the whole passage, but just one of these verses. I think it was verse 14. But anyway, he was talking about how when he moved to Southern California, I think he's from Texas. I think J. Vernon McGee's from Texas, but wherever he's from the South. When he moved to California, to L.A., he says he just loved it. He just didn't expect to love a place so much. He said it was just, it was the nicest place he'd ever had, first place he'd ever paid for and paid off. He said the Lord had given it to him, and he said before California went nuts, it was a good place to live. He said, but the danger was in loving it too much, because this isn't our home. I'll come back to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. But these all died in faith, not having received the promises, having seen them afar off, understanding there is a promise of a better place, and there's a promise of eternity, and there's a promise of the way that God's going to take care of us, and we don't always see it in this lifetime. These prosperity preachers don't understand that all of the things that they're promising people, they've confused with this life. God didn't promise us that everything would be wonderful here. If your life is wonderful here, God bless you. That's great. If you've got a big, nice home and a bunch of nice cars and a lot of land and plenty of money in the bank and you're just doing really well, then God bless you. That's good, but that's not what we were promised here. In fact, everybody that I can read in the Bible, from Paul to Peter and all in between, promised us persecution and a world that would hate us and misuse us and mistreat us. And so I can honestly say we get what we were promised. But there's so much that God promises for our faithfulness and for our service and what's coming in the next life. So just understanding that you may die in your faith, not having seen the promises because they're not here yet. And I think if more people understood that, they could enjoy their service to God. It says they were persuaded of them and embraced them and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. And that was what got me thinking about this song, Strangers and Pilgrims on the Earth. I'm a stranger and a pilgrim. Oh, excuse me again. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I've been up for a little bit. Verse 14 says, for they that say such things, they that say what? Such things. Well, those that confess. It says, and confess that they were strangers and pilgrims. Those that say that. Those that say, I am a stranger and a pilgrim. For they that say such things, declare plainly they seek a country. I've got a mansion just over the hilltop. I am looking for that country where I belong. There's another song that reminds me of a Beulah Land. I'm kind of homesick for a country to which I've never been before. Anyway, I'm getting that way. I'm getting to where I'm homesick for a country I've never been to. I am homesick. I am ready to go home. I had a preacher one time, and he's just down the road from where we're at. I'm not going to tell you which one, because you can go 3 directions from our house. 4 if you count Cistern. Yeah, you can go 4 directions from anywhere. But there's a preacher just down the road from us who told me just last year and a half ago, I said something about how I couldn't wait to get to heaven, and he said something like, well, you'll get over that, or you'll change your mind when you get grandkids. I've got grandkids, Goofy. Just because I look young don't mean nothing. My eldest has one daughter that is his and one that he married into. So, and I claim her too. So I've got 2 granddaughters, and I don't ever get to see them, which is sad. They live so far away. But he told me I'd get over that wanting to go. Man, I got little kids. I got one at 6 months old. Forget grandkids. How can you say such a thing to me? I'm homesick because I want to be with the Lord, and I can't believe a preacher would say that to me. I mean, I don't know why he's not. It's homesick. There's a danger in loving this world too much. There's a danger in loving being here too much. And I don't understand it. Anyway, they declare plainly that they seek a country, and I understand how that feels. Paul said he was between the two. He had a desire to be in heaven with the Lord, but also a desire to be here with the brethren, because he loved the people here. And that's a good reason to love this place, I guess, to want to stay, to strengthen folks and to lead folks to Christ. That's a good reason to be here. Lord willing, those grandkids be in heaven with you. Verse 15, and truly if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. Well, that's an interesting statement. If they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, in heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. Well, this is a strange passage. But let me give you my take on it, and then we'll call it a day. We know it's not talking about heaven because he addresses that in verse 16. So what verse 15 means, and the best I can understand, is the world they came out of. If they, let me read it again. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, the country we come out of, I guess if you're being literal, it's different for all of us. I was born in Texas. I think Dr. McGee came from Texas. That's what I was talking about earlier. Let's just use Dr. McGee for an example here. If he came out of Texas and he went to California, and if he truly went to missing Texas and truly loved Texas so much, then you could inject that in here. And truly, if he had been mindful of that from where he came out, he might have had opportunity to have returned. If the place where you originated means that much to you, there might be a chance for you to head back to it. The world, I think, is the example. If that's mindful here means if you love it that much, you might have had an opportunity to return to it had you not got saved. But you did get saved, and that's what verse 16 means. But now they desire a better country, that is in heaven. What that means is we get too wrapped up in places on earth that we think are good to live. But you know what? None of them are good to live. None of them. You say, well, where I live here in Delhi is better than some places I could live. I'll agree with that. But none of them are good to live. It doesn't matter where you pick on earth. I've often said, jokingly, that one of these days, the Lord may lead me to the Bahamas or the Caribbean. Hey, they need the Lord down there too. Now I say that as a joke because I told my wife, I said he'd never do it, but if he ever led me to live in the tropical region where the weather's pretty all the time and there's white sand beaches and we could just go down there and enjoy life while we tell people about the Lord, man, what a ministry, And my argument would be, well, hey, people there need Jesus too, And that's a joke, okay? I'm just kidding. It's not about my comfort. It's not about living where I think is good. It's about doing what the Lord called me to do until such time as I can go home, and I just want to go home. Anyway, that's me. I think that's what this means. We're going to stop at verse 16 because this next section is lengthy, and I don't have the time today. But I'm going to read it again. Now they desire a better country, that is an heavenly country. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. The Lord is preparing a place for us. And he's looking forward to us being there. Can I tell you something that might just be a little over our heads? In a weird way, in a strange and unimaginable way, this is already finished. It's already done. And we're just not caught up yet. Let me tell you what I mean by that, and I'm through. Time is not it's an illusion to God, okay? That's not the way I mean that. We're constrained by time. God is not. He can move backward and forward through it all he wants to, however he wants to. There's nothing preventing God from going back to the beginning or going back all the way to the end. If he's truly an eternal being, and I believe he is, time has no meaning to him. Time has meaning to us. We are stuck in this time continuum that it requires us to finish it out, okay? For lack of a better word. The Lord's not constrained by time. If He is, He's not God. So in a way that we can't fully wrap our mind around, it's like, and this is not a good analogy, it's just the best way I know to explain this, okay? This is not the best analogy, but it's something we can understand. If you put a DVD in your DVD player, you can go forward and backward in it all you want to. If you only wanted to watch the credits, you could fast forward to the credits and you could just sit and watch, or if you wanted to watch the cowboy ride off into the sunset at the end of the movie, you could do that. You could just watch that. Only that. Only that. And all I'm saying is, in a way that which we can't comprehend, really, I think the Lord has already seen the end and enjoyed the experience of it, and we're playing catch up. Now, maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. Maybe that's just going to confuse you further. I'm not telling you that I'm an expert in these matters. I just know that in a way, this is already over. We just have to play it out. I'll give you one more analogy, and maybe it'll help. If you're in a football game and you're losing 60-7 or 60-0, and there's still 5 minutes left on the clock, you know the game's over. You know it's over. There's no way you're going to win. There's just no way. But you play out the clock. You finish the game. And that's all I'm saying is the Lord already has all this figured out, and it's already in a way it's already happened in eternity. We're in eternity now. We're in eternity present. We have to play it out. We've got to finish the game. So I hope I didn't confuse you, but just knowing that this thing has a happy ending because we belong to the Lord should comfort you. It comforts me. Regrettably, I'm not there yet, but until I get there, I'm just going to continue to have faith in the promises He made, trust Him, try to follow Him, and I hope you'll do the same. You guys have a great day.